All right, we'd like to welcome everyone to part 3 of our Flip the Switch series. We're so excited to be here today. You heard from John Kennedy about a month ago and had the opportunity to work together with me earlier in December. And now we're excited to flip the switch with Louie Sharp, how you lead your company for more proficiency, productivity, and profit. Let's take it away.
So, what could be more important than becoming a truly gifted leader and growing your business for more profit and freedom? Louis Sharp is going to share with us the secrets we can use today to become more effective leaders, to have a bigger impact faster than ever before on your teams to improve efficiency, productivity, and profit for your company. Louis Sharp is a nationally renowned world class keynote speaker with over 11 years of professional speaking experience. He has been seen on NBC, as well as delivering keynote speeches, workshops, and consulting for distinguished companies such as DuPont, Edward Jones, Sage, and Fender. He served 20 years in the U.S. Marines. His service included travel to 21 countries while serving on Huey helicopters. He was the vice president for Enhances, a global company, and a successful business owner in his own right. Louis has started, bought, and sold companies. He started his first company at 23 and 38, but I think that we need to change that number. Years later, it's still growing strong. He also donates his time speaking about leadership, self confidence, and success to abused women and children. His forthcoming book is titled The Gifted Leader: How to Grow Your Business for More Profit and Freedom. I would like to introduce and please give a warm welcome to Mr. Louis Sharp.
It's March 24th, 2017, and I'm sitting in a conference room like I've done many times before for a state convention, and later that day I'm going to be the keynote speaker. It's about 9 o'clock. The conference room, like most conference rooms, is really cool, actually chilly for me. All of a sudden, out of the blue, I start to feel a little queasy in my stomach. Now, I can tell you that in my entire life, I haven't thrown up 5 times. So I think it's odd that I'm feeling queasy and sick to my stomach. And I think at first, maybe it was just the breakfast I had at the hotel that morning. Within a couple minutes, I feel like I'm really going to be sick to my stomach. So I get up and leave the conference room and I start heading towards a bathroom. By the time I get to the bathroom, I've broken out into a cold sweat. It feels like somebody's stabbing me in the middle of my chest with a knife. It feels like an elephant is standing on my chest and I'm having great difficulty breathing. And my right arm has started to go numb. Thinking I'm a macho dude, I'm still thinking I can tough this thing out. But when I get to the bathroom, I look at myself in the mirror and I am gray. I mean, like gray, like the zombies you see in movies. I am gray. At this point, I know I'm in trouble and I need help. I immediately leave the bathroom and I'm on the second floor of the hotel in the conference area. I go down the escalators. At this point, my energy is dropping like a brick. I get down to the main floor and I realize that I just made a grave error and that the registration check-in desks are on the floor that I just left. At this point, I don't have the energy to literally take my cell phone out of my pocket. I look around the lobby and I find an adult woman with luggage. I walk over to her, I put my hand on her shoulder and tell her, I'm having a heart attack. I need you to call 911. Bam, flat on my back I go. I'm on a bench. I'm laying on that bench until the rescue squad gets there. The rescue squad gets there and they take me outside underneath this overhang. And underneath that overhang, they start giving me nitroglycerin pills like it's candy. They hook me up to an EKG. They rush me off to the hospital. In the hospital, they take me right into the ER. They do a couple of tests there. From the ER, they take me to the OR and they do an emergency surgery. And they go in through my groin and they put a stent in one of my arteries. Later that afternoon, I would have a cardiologist come in and tell me that I was going to need open heart surgery. He literally dropped my jaw. I can tell you 2 days before I had this heart attack, I was on a treadmill working out for my next triathlon. I came home and had a second cardiologist tell me exactly the same thing, that I was going to need open heart surgery, and that I was blessed to have survived this heart attack, because if I hadn't have been in the shape I was in, the heart attack would have killed me. When you have a heart attack and they have the time, they're going to give you 6 weeks to heal from the time you have your heart attack to the time they perform open heart surgery. So on May 10th, approximately 6 weeks later, I had open heart surgery. Now, between my heart attack and the open heart surgery, the only exercise they would let me perform was walking. So I got busy and I walked every day. When I got out of open heart surgery, this is a picture the very next day with a dear friend of mine who came in from Nebraska to support both my wife and I. The first thing they do after open heart surgery the very next morning is they get you out of bed and they walk you. So they got me up out of bed to walk me. And they still have all the stuffed tubes in you and all kinds of stuff. And they give you like a walker to put all the bags and everything in the walker. And in the hospital I was in, Good Shepherd Hospital, they actually have like a circular track that you can go around that's on the cardiac floor. And every 10 feet, there's a red heart. On my first day after open heart surgery, I went 630 feet. And nobody could believe that I went 630 feet on my first day after open heart surgery. I want to share with you today how you can lead you and your company to more proficiency, profit, and productivity. But I want you to understand that the key to this, before we get to the profitability and all the things that you need to do, is to build a really, really strong foundation. Any organization and your life has to be built on a very strong foundation. And today I want to talk about that foundation and what's important and critical for you to understand of what you need to do on a regular basis so that you can continue and not have a one-time event. We've all had something that's a one-time event where we've had great success, bam, and then it's gone. This process is to help you build a foundation that's going to give you long-term results well into the future, and as long as you want it. So what I like to tell people is business and life are a marathon. They're not a sprint. What you want to realize is this is about the journey, and you want to build things, build processes and systems in your life that are going to help you sustain your life and the quality of your life over the rest of your life. Who's the hardest person to lead? That's right. Thanks for putting your hands up or pointing to yourself. You're absolutely right. The hardest person to lead is the person that you're looking at in the mirror every day. That's the hardest person to lead. And so what we're going to do today is I'm going to share with you some things that I've learned that helped me not only survive that heart attack, but come back even stronger than before. So we all have 4 types of energy. We have physical energy, we have mental energy, we have emotional energy, and we have spiritual energy. Now, I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge the 2 presenters that we've had in this program, Flip the Switch. First, we had John, who was teaching us about mental focus and some routines and some practice exercises that he gave us to be able to get our mind to think more clearly, more efficiently, and to focus for longer. And then Louie was telling us great techniques and great tools on how to improve our concentration. There's a great acronym they use in 12-step programs called HALT. And it stands for hungry, angry, lonely, and tired. And so when you are hungry, angry, lonely, tired, or a combination of those things, you make bad decisions. You do stupid stuff. You say things you wish you would have never said. And it's really hard to think clearly. So I want to emphasize that this is really a foundation. If you want to build on what Louie and John shared, they gave us unbelievably powerful tools. By the way, John, I'm still practicing my left, right, up, down, red, yellow, banana, apple. I'm doing it every day. And Louie, every day I have a note that I review that I'm working on being a better listener and be more focused so I can actually respond to what they're saying, not to what I want to say in response. But to be able to continue to do these things, I've got to bring my best energy to every day, not some days, not most days, every day. And this is how we change the game. So before I go on, I'd like each of you to pick the area that you think is the weakest for you. What area of your energy, and I've got physical to the left, and then mental, your emotional, and to the right is the spiritual. I'd like you to write down or note someplace which energy is the weakest for you. And as I go through what we're the 4 areas today, I'd like you to really key in on the one that's the most important for you, that you want to be able to help with. And here's what I want you to understand. Much like what Lori was sharing or John was sharing, all you have to do is improve one area. So I'll pick emotional as an example. You cannot improve your emotional energy without it automatically bringing up your body energy, your mental energy, and your spiritual energy. They are all connected. So the power of this is one improvement, like John's exercise or Lori's exercises. You can't do one exercise without improving all your brain capacities. You can't do one exercise around communication without improving all your communication skills. So that's the same thing is true with energy. And by the way, it's the truth with everything in our life, right? If we bring up one part of our life, our entire life, our entire business comes up with it. It's that old quote that everybody likes to say, right? The rising tide brings up all the ships, not just one. So I want to tie this to goals, and I like the short version. We can talk about SMART, specific, measurable, attainable, blah, 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 blah. I like to get right there. Goal, how much by when? So if you have a business goal, it's how much by when. So I have a very clear goal for the end of the year and for my sales, and I also know what that broke down to monthly and then also weekly. But it's how much by when. That's in its simplest form. That's what a goal is. Now, I want you to understand the power of your energy is for you to be able to run the marathon, because to accomplish your goal, you're going to need to run the marathon. If you're setting big goals, it's going to be quite a stretch before you get there. And you're going to want to set goals that you can, smaller goals, so you have a sense of accomplishment and achievement on the way. Some milestones, like some people like to call them. But what you really want to do is realize that once you attain a goal, what are you going to do? You're going to set another goal, right? And so that's why I want you to understand your energy. You want to build your energy and create habits for energy that are going to be long-term, because they're going to go from now until the day you die. So here's what I want you to do for today. I don't want you to believe anything I'm going to tell you. I mean that. I don't want you to believe anything. I'm going to want you to just pick one thing and go try it. Because once you try it and you realize, oh my gosh, Louie was right, this has increased my energy, it's increased my performance, you're going to realize that you've gotten the result. And that experience is going to make you hungry and motivated to take the next one and then the next one. So your energy, your best energy gets your best results towards your best goals. So for physical energy, I'm sure a bunch of you thought, okay, here comes the whole exercise talk. I'm not going to talk about exercise today. There's been enough written about exercise, but I do want to talk about this. I will mention this in exercise. There's a great book out there called The Power of Habit by a guy named Charles Duhigg. And in The Power of Habit, he talks about a thing called keystone habits. Exercise is a keystone habit. When you exercise, it improves every area of your life. Every area of your life, your energy, how well you sleep, how well you eat, and so on down the line. With that being said, you need to be exercising, and I'll leave it at that. The thing I really want to focus on today is sleep and food. So here's 5 things to improve your sleep. Now, I want you to understand that many of us grew up in an environment where we thought pulling an all-nighter before a test or pulling an all-nighter for a flipping party and then going to work was a good idea. Well, I have a newsflash. It was not a good idea. Your brain and your body do not work better with less sleep. And there's enough scientific research to prove that. I won't bore you with the scientific research. What I am going to do is help give you 5 habits. Now, remember, my goal is not to overwhelm you. Just figure out one for you. So you want to develop or find your rhythm. We were all born with a circadian rhythm. We really have a rhythm that comes. We were supposed to rise when the sun comes up and go to bed when the sun went down. But then we invented these things called lights, and so our rhythm's gotten out of whack. So to develop your rhythm, Pick either the nighttime or the morning, but pick a time and make it the same time all the time. So pick a time that you're going to be in bed every night and stick to that time. People make fun of me, but I have an alarm on my phone that it's called my bedtime alarm, my bedtime warning, and it goes off at 8:30. And that tells me I got 60 minutes to get my butt in bed. I got to finish whatever I got to finish, and I'm in bed at 9:30. Now, I can tell you at this point, I don't set an alarm because my body's found its natural rhythm. And at 5 o'clock in the morning, I'm wide awake, refreshed, and I haven't set an alarm. You could also go the other end, and you could set this thing in the morning, and then you could screw with, still go to bed anytime you want. But what you want to do is get them both set at some point that works for you. No devices 60 minutes before you go to bed. No TV, no cell phone, no computer, no laptop, no iPad or personal touch or any of those wacky things. Your goal 60 minutes before bed is to start to slow the whole system down. Lori said something earlier before the call started that she did a presentation this morning. Well, I can tell you her adrenaline and her energy is naturally going to be up because she's presenting. You don't want to do anything that's going to start to get you naturally up or starting to peak your energy. You want to do the things that are starting to decrease your energy 60 minutes before you go to bed. You should only be doing one thing in bed. All right, there's two things you should be doing in bed, but I can't talk about the second one on this call, so I'm going to talk about sleep. So you only want to be sleeping in bed. You don't want to be reading in bed. You don't want to be watching TV. You don't want to be eating in bed. You don't want to do anything in bed other than sleep or have some fun with your partner. But you want to train your brain for it to know, and this is much like Pavlov's dog, right? He'd ring the bell, the dog would savel. It would slobber. So what you want to do is you want to train your brain for it to know that when we get into bed, we're doing one thing. We're going to go to sleep. When you do other things in bed and you climb into bed, your brain doesn't know what the heck it's supposed to do. Now, if you've had some nights like me, here's another thing to do. If you wake up in the middle of the night and you're tossing and turning, you got a bunch of stuff on your brain, get out of bed. Get out of bed. And at a minimum, find a piece of paper and just start jotting all the crap down that's screaming through your head. Because again, you don't want your brain to think that it's okay to lie in bed and run your brain like the monkey in the tree from limb to limb. So go to bed and don't do anything in bed. And if you wake up in the middle of the night, get out of bed and get all that stuff out of your brain and then go back to bed. Don't eat at least 3 hours before bed. This is really powerful. Your body is a machine that works on energy. And so food is energy. If you eat late at night and you go to bed, your body's digesting this food and turning it into what? Energy. So you're starting to ramp your energy up, and now you're headed in the wrong direction. And then you go to bed and you're going to flip and toss and turn for hours because your body thinks, hey, we're supposed to be doing something. We're supposed to be wide awake. Slow down, calm down, and put in the positive. One of the things I learned that I love to share with people, this is really powerful. That last 60 minutes, start to slow it down. If you can, be in a place where you can dim the lights. I like to do some prayer and meditation before I go to bed. I write in my gratitude journal all by hand. I don't do any of that digitally. But I also read positive stuff. I'll write down things I was grateful for. I write down my successes that day before I go to bed. If you were to watch a horror movie or a violent movie of some sort before you go to bed, you'll go to bed and have nightmares. Lots of people have had this experience. So what do you want to put positive in your brain? I also visualize before I go to bed. I visualize on my goals, my dreams the next day. Last night, before I went to bed, I visualized how this event was going to go. So I put all that positive stuff in my brain, and then my brain cooks on that all night long, because it's whatever you put in that last 60 to 45 minutes, your brain's working on all night long, even though you're not aware of it. Food and drink. This one is one that I want you to remember what I said. Don't believe me. Don't eat anything processed. And what I'd like you to do is try this for 30 days and watch what happens to your energy. Don't eat any, what Brian Tracy calls the 3 white poisons. And oddly enough, cocaine did not make his list. But he talks about sugar, flour, and salt. Those are the 3 white poisons. And I can tell you there's all kinds of research. One of the things that was big in my heart attack was sugar. I would train for a triathlon, and one of my rewards after training was ice cream. And I love Ben & Jerry's Cherry Garcia. And I would take a pint of Ben & Jerry's, like after I went for a run or I had a bike ride or whatever I did to train for my next coming triathlon, I'd take a pint of Ben & Jerry's, I'd take the lid off and throw it away. I'd pick up a spoon and I'd sit down and I'd wipe out that entire pint of ice cream. Well, I can tell you one of the things I learned after having a massive heart attack, I had one artery that was 100% blocked when I had the heart attack, had one that was 90% blocked, and 2 more that were 80% blocked. And one of the things that blocks our arteries is sugar. And I could tell you more about that. If you want to reach out to me, I'll explain exactly how. But sugar not only blocks your arteries, but it also feeds cancer cells. It's bad, bad mojo. Eat one ingredient. So I can tell you, I have a pretty simple rule. For me to put something in my mouth, it can only have one ingredient. Carrots, cucumbers, broccoli, apples, pears, nuts, something that's got one ingredient. If it's got a bunch of ingredients in it, it's got a bunch of processed crap in it to keep it alive. I was at a networking event and a woman showed up with a McDonald's hamburger that was a year old. And guess what? It had shrunk. Now, but it wasn't moldy. It wasn't foul smelling. It was a piece of meat and some bread, but they had so much preservatives and additives in there. It didn't rot. It didn't get moldy. So one ingredient. Last thing is you should be drinking half your body weight in ounces of water. Now, you're going to clean up what you're drinking just by getting rid of the salt and sugar and that kind of stuff, right? And there's different sources of protein. You can be a vegan or a vegetarian and get good protein, and meat's going to be a preference. But again, if you're going to eat meat as one piece, right? Grill a piece of chicken, grill some fish, but eat good, clean meat. Here's what I want you to tell. Now, again, remember, I don't want you to believe this, but I can tell you right now, and this is not to be gross or disgusting, if you clean up what you put into your body, anything that comes out of you, the top of you or the bottom of you, will not have an odor. If you're eating and you're on track, you won't need toilet paper. Think about it. Cavemen didn't have toilet paper. Why? They didn't, because they weren't eating fast food. They weren't eating TV dinners. They weren't eating pita pockets. They weren't eating. And by the way, think about, and I can see most of the people on this call have been on the planet a while. Think about when we were kids, there weren't all the people having cancer that are having cancer now. It's because we're putting crap into our bodies, and it's polluting ourselves. And how do you expect, if you were to put sugar in the gas tank of your car, the thing would stop running. Our body's no different. If you really want to ramp up your physical energy, get enough sleep and start eating correctly, and you'll be amazed that you'll be able to leap tall buildings in a single bound. This is a group of high school kids that we took to nationals one year. I think this was in Anaheim, California. I've been mentoring high school kids for probably 12 to 13 years at this point. Wakanda High School, for the last 6 or 7 years, has taken more kids to nationals for FBLA than any other high school in the state. And one of the reasons why is because I've got these kids understanding that if they go to bed early, they're going to perform better. I've got them understanding that if they give up the pop and all those energy drinks, I can't think of the names right now, but all that crap that are loaded with sugar and caffeine and all those things, and if they eat healthy, they perform better. And I can tell you it shows in our results because, again, we take more students to nationals every year than any other high school. And by the way, I got them believing, and it's the truth, a good night's sleep is much better for their performance. So guess what? Bed check with a bunch of teenagers in a hotel room across the country, a whole lot easier because they're already in bed because I got them buying into the idea good night's sleep is going to help them perform better the next day. So your best energy gets your best results towards your best goals. Next one I want to talk about is your mental health. So here's 3 habits for better mental energy. Eliminate the news, period, everywhere. I don't care who you are, what you do, cut out the news. TV, radio, internet, cut out the flipping news. If it bleeds, it leads. If it bleeds, it leads. They're never going to tell you anything good. They're never going to tell you anything positive. They're going to tell you a bunch of stuff that's going to get you all freaked out and worried and scared. I'm going to jump to emotional energy just for a second. There's only 2 kinds of emotion, love or fear. Everything's a derivative of that. And by the way, I love to ask people this. Tell me one thing that you've worried about that's killed you. And I have people actually fold their hands, tip their head, and start thinking. Duh, it's kind of a trick question. You're still alive. You've survived everything. Anything you've worried about, you've survived. I have a news flash. You're going to survive everything until the day you die. And the day you die, you're not going to need to worry because you're going to be dead anyway. And guess what? Most of the stuff the news is telling you is what? It's stuff you have no control over. You can't fix it. Right now, the politicians are doing what the politicians are doing. The economy is doing what the economy is doing. Everybody's doing what they're busy doing. You have no control over that. Turn off the news. I can tell you, I don't even have cable TV anymore. Now, I do seminars. I do full day seminars. The first time I told some this, and I haven't had TV in my house for probably 10, 11 years at this point. And the first time I did this, somebody in the seminar stuck their hand up and said, "Can I have your TV?" And I was like, "You chucklehead, you missed the whole point. You don't want to be watching TV." Now I keep a TV because my wife and I like to rent some movies on a Friday or Saturday night and have a nice quiet evening and watch a movie, but I don't watch TV. Most of that's a bunch of garbage too. Reduce screen time daily. So screen time is everything that you're putting your face in front of. Your cell phone, your computer, your iPad, the TV, any of that stuff. Reduce your screen time on a daily basis. It's going to start to free up space. Kind of to what John was talking about with his exercises of training your brain starts to look ahead. I can tell you your brain needs, like anything else, needs a rest. And so when you can give it a break from screen time, it's going to be very, very powerful. Next thing you want to do is take a full day off from screens. I know I can hear you all, but Louie, nothing. The world's not going to end. We all grew up with no flipping cell phone. Well, some of us. Most of us on this call, but I can tell you the world's going to go by just fine. And here's the deal. You're going to be a lot better off. And I used to live with this fantasy. I used to work 7 days a week, day in and day out. Nicole, you paying attention? Used to work 7 days a week. And then I realized all I was doing was making Louie good and toasty. When I can take a full day off, I hit it a whole lot harder on Monday morning and I'm recharged because I took a full day off. And now I take a full day off from these things called screens because if you don't, then every time they beep or they chirp or they do whatever you've got them doing, all they're doing is pulling your focus and your attention. And now you have to do more John Kennedy exercises to try and work and get all that focus. And seriously, think about it. Every time when I come into work, I silence my cell phone and I put it face down so that it can do whatever it does. It doesn't pull my attention. Because if you got that thing on silence and face up, your screen lights up, it pulls your attention away from it. You got to go back to your focus. And John could help you with this, but from what I've read, it takes at least 10 minutes to get your focus back once it's been broken. And that's a lot of focus taken away from you every time your phone chirps or somebody sends you a text or an email. So I'm currently consulting a company It's owned by a husband and wife. And the wife's just the cutest little thing. And she's about 5 feet tall, but she's a bundle of fire. But she's a worrier. And so I told her, I said, Maggie, what I want you to do is for the next 30 days, just turn off the news, turn off the Facebook stuff. Don't listen to anything. Stay away from anything that's negative. I can tell you it didn't take her 30 days. In 2 weeks, she came back to me and she said, Louie, it's unbelievable. I'm happier than I've ever been on a regular basis, and I don't find myself worrying about everything. And she was literally worried about everything. So again, these have results. Don't believe me, give it a try. Your best energy gets your best results towards your best goals. Next thing I want to talk about is emotional energy. And this one is probably a little different than you might expect too. It's called learning to love yourself. Self-love. Most of us don't love ourselves enough, and I can't love Nicole any more than I love me. So if I can love me unconditionally, then I can love Nicole unconditionally. First thing I want you to do is the mirror exercise. The mirror exercise is a game changer, and I mean a game changer. The mirror exercise is pretty simple. Now I want to be really clear. If you take any one of these actions, I guarantee it's going to improve your energy. All of them are simple. Probably none of them are easy. I can tell you, I don't eat sugar anymore. I haven't eaten flour for a long time. Right now, this morning, somebody brought in a big box of donuts from Dunkin' Donuts. Was it tempting? Yes, it was, but I didn't have a donut. So the mirror exercise, simple, but it's going to take some discipline. You stand in front of the mirror, you look at yourself in the eyes, and you say out loud your name, Louie. And then the next thing you do is you appreciate yourself for things that you did that day. So Louie, I appreciate that you got up early this morning. I appreciate that you've meditated, that you've read, that you did your prayers, that you already journaled in your gratitude journal for the day. I appreciate you had a great team meeting this morning about sales and marketing. I appreciate that you were really well prepared for today's meeting and this presentation. I appreciate that you didn't eat any of those donuts. You can appreciate yourself for what you accomplished that day, and then also appreciate yourself for any disciplines you held. So you kept the exercise discipline in place, or you didn't eat sugar, whatever it may be. And then the very last thing you do is you look in the mirror and you say, Louie, I love you. And then you keep looking in the mirror for a couple more seconds to let it really sink in that you love you. I can tell you I've been doing the mirror exercise for 12 years. It's a game changer. Do something fun every day. Every day. Every day. Do something fun every day. Make a list of stuff that you can do that's fun and that doesn't need any money. All kinds of stuff. You could play cards with your partner. You could exercise. For some people, exercise is fun. For me, it's playing my guitar. But do something fun every day. And I literally mean every day, even if it's only for a couple of minutes. Sometimes one of my favorite fun things to do is run the hot water heater out of hot water. It's just really relaxing to be in the shower until there's no more hot water. One of the things that this does is it starts letting you off the hook for pushing yourself all day long, every day. And I also want to tell you that I have a really good indicator. If you ever want to spend time with me or hang out with me on a regular basis, one of the first questions I'm going to ask you is, what are you doing for fun? I ask that question to people all the time, and they say, nothing, not much. Well, screw you. I don't want to hang out with somebody that's not having fun, because at some point, you're just going to be crying in my soup too. I got enough stuff to cry in my soup about without your stuff, right? So have some fun every day and make sure you're only hanging around with people that are having fun too. Do one self-care action every day. Make a list from something that you can do in a couple of minutes to something that you're going to do for an hour. Ladies, 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 and you too, John, but ladies, you guys, it's like it's bred in John and I for us to breed, to create the race.
I'm
for
on a webinar, but
us to go on. It's the same thing with you. You ladies instinctively are nurturing and think you need to take care of everybody. Take care of you first. I'm not going to go through the analogy of the airline with the flipping oxygen mask. I'm going to tell you, do something that takes care of you every day. Here's 2 of them that are mine, and I've come out of the closet and I've let go of all my fear. Well, most of my fear. One of them is I rub my feet every night before I go to bed. I've got this special foot lotion. It was inexpensive, but it's just for your feet. I rub my feet. All our nerve endings are in our feet. It's a great way to relax yourself before you go to bed. It's one of the things I do for self-care. One of my other favorite things is I love a hot, long bubble bath, listening to Lionel Richie love songs. I don't think anybody ever wrote a better love song than Lionel Richie. And I love bubble baths. They're just relaxing. But what can you be doing for you every day that takes care of you, that recharges your batteries? Because this is going to recharge your emotional energy. We run through life not having any fun and not taking care of ourselves for days or weeks on end. And then we wonder why we get toasty. And I can tell you, this one's really, really important. You will never be able to focus mentally. You will never be able to have good, clear conversations that are going to get you the results you want when you're emotionally stretched as tight as you can go, because you're living in that hole, hungry, angry, lonely, and tired. And lonely and tired, bad place to be. Hungry and tired, bad place to be. But a lot of that's all emotional. I can be hungry, but if I'm not tired, I'm not going to be hard to get along with. So take care of yourself. Have some fun. Laugh for at least 7 seconds a day. This one's been huge for me. I actually learned this. I went to a class called laughing yoga. And so this is what you do. I actually now in my route to work, I go through a stoplight. And once I go through that stoplight, I start laughing. And I know about approximately how much further down the road 7 seconds is. And I'm sure in the morning there's people that look at me and think that guy's a nut, but I don't care. So what you do is you start with just ha, 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 until you get yourself laughing. And then laugh for 7 seconds. Not a long time. You'll be amazed at how often you start laughing in the course of your day. You'll be amazed at how much funnier you are in the course of your day just by laughing every day for 7 seconds. This little dude was me. And at about this stage of my life, I was being abused in every way you could imagine, physically, mentally, emotionally, and sexually. I can tell you that the things I just told you about emotionally and the mirror exercises at the top of the list for a reason. Mirror exercises changed my life. I didn't believe I was worthy or deserving. I didn't believe I was lovable. When I was in high school, I was being beat bloody by my stepmother who told me I was useless and never going to amount to anything. I can tell you the mirror exercise changed my life. If I get into bed now and realize that I forgot to do the mirror exercise, I get out of bed and get back in front of a mirror. Powerful stuff. Your best energy gets your best results towards your best goals. Spiritual energy, one of my all-time favorites. So here's 3 habits for spiritual energy. Journaling. Journaling is a powerful tool. Remember what I said about getting up in the middle of the night and just writing it down? Journaling is very powerful. They call it free writing. You can get up in the morning and just journal, and all this wisdom will come out of you. You'll be amazed at all the wisdom, knowledge, information, intelligence that you have in you. Just start journaling and kind of free will it and let the spirit move you and flow out of you. Now, before I go on, I want to be really clear that this is not about religion. This is about spiritual connection. Every society, every culture from the beginning of time has believed in a higher power, a higher source, God, Allah, Buddha, Yahweh, infinite source, universe. I don't care what you call it. What's important is that it's out there. And every civilization has believed in it. They've written songs about it. They've painted paintings about it. They carved on walls before they could do anything else about it. So there is spiritual connection. We have a thing called a soul or a spirit. And so we have the ability to tap into this energy. And also we have to also nurture this energy, much like your emotional energy and your mental energy and your physical energy. If you're running at breakneck speed through your life, you're draining your mental energy batteries, and you're never gonna build this spiritual energy back up. So journaling is a very powerful tool. Another thing to do for journaling, if you want to use it at the end of the day, is simply sit down and write what happened. What did you learn from today? What were your successes from today? What went wrong, and what are you going to do the next time? Again, there's great wisdom in just getting it out of you. Journaling at the end of the day, another great practice as you start to slow things down to get it out of your brain so you can sleep like a baby. Meditation. There's been lots and lots written about meditation, and a lot of people think it's woo-woo, or that it's some black magic or that kind of stuff, or voodoo. And meditation is another game changer. Meditation is a keystone habit. If you start meditating on a regular basis, it will change everything in your life. Now, I want to be really simple and basic here. You can take 5 minutes in the morning, close your eyes, and simply try to hold your awareness on your breathing. Breathe in through your nose, breathe out through your mouth. You don't have to chant anything. You don't have to have a mantra. You don't have to do anything. Simply sit still in a room where you're not going to be interrupted. And for the next 5 minutes, you simply spend time holding your awareness on your breath. Now, your brain is going to wander. You don't beat yourself up. You simply bring your awareness back to your breathing. If you do that for 5 minutes every day, you'll be amazed at the calmness you start to find. You'll also realize that if you do meditation in conjunction with some of John's brain exercises, your ability to hold your focus on nothing but your breath and go into the stillness. There's a quote in the Bible that says, "The peace that passes all understanding." I can tell you, I've had meditations where I've gone into that peace that passes all understanding, and it's been so peaceful and so unbelievably safe and loving that I don't want to come back. It's available to all of us. But a simple spiritual practice of meditation every morning for 5 minutes, just hold your attention on your breath, is going to start to change the game in literally every area of your life. Yoga. Now, before I get on to yoga, this just came to me. Whoever it is for you, prayer is us talking to them. Meditation is us being quiet to get the answer. And so I'm going to tap back into what Lori presented. If I really want an answer from Lori, and all I do is go on and on and on and on and on, and I never shut up, how can I get the answer? I can't. Well, it's the same thing with meditation. Put the prayer out there. That's you talking to God, Allah, Buddha, whoever it is for you, and then be quiet. And in the stillness, you'll be amazed at the things that start to come to you, the wisdom and the insight, but you got to be quiet to listen. Now, yoga. I love yoga. Love yoga. I love yoga because it's got so many things combined in one place and can be so powerful. You can use yoga for strength. You could use yoga for flexibility. You could use yoga for balance. You could use yoga as part of your meditation exercise. You could use yoga for any kind of spiritual practice. I specifically use yoga for flexibility and stretching. And for me, it's a great balance to my exercise routine. I haven't had, knock on wood, I haven't had a physical injury from exercise in decades. And I think it's because my body is pretty limber and loose. But yoga is, again, one of those game changers that can change the game. Same thing. You don't have to be spending hours of time. When I first started yoga, and this was back in the day when there was only VHS tapes, I got a VHS tape and the Idiot's Guide to Yoga. And I went home. The true story. I went home and I taught myself how to do yoga. I didn't go to some class and chant or wear some robes or do any of that. I do it in sweats, and I do it in the privacy of my own home. you can go take a yoga class. But my point is you can do yoga. Same thing. You do 5 or 10 minutes of yoga on a regular basis. Yoga gets you to focus your attention on your breathing, focuses your awareness on your body. Very, very powerful. So I'm going to give away some stuff. I've got 8 steps to create a new habit. And you can get that at the info@thegiftedleader.com, and they'll put that in the chat for you. You can also, I created a PDF, a document, 24 habits for more energy. So you can take any one of these, and I'm also going to send you the mirror exercise. How to do the mirror exercise step by step. You can actually tape it to your mirror if you want to do that as a reminder. What I've realized is that I've created a process from a couple of things I've learned on how to really instill a habit and keep it there, because that's really the goal, is to instill habits so that you keep them there. If you do it temporarily, you're not going to have those long-term results. I sincere when I tell you I've been doing John's mirror exercise or his mental exercises for the last 2 months since his first presentation. Lori, I'm still working on being a better listener every day. But it's an everyday thing, right? The only way I'm going to get better is to constantly be aware of it and bring good energy to it. So my goal is not to overwhelm any of you. Remember, you want to pick one area and then pick only one new habit in that area. And you've got plenty of new habits and plenty of ideas, but pick that one new habit and then work on it for 30 days. Now, I've read different stuff, 21 to 30 days, but if you do it 30 days in a row, you're going to instill that new habit, especially if you use the steps I've got in that process. The other thing to keep in mind is if you go 15 days and you miss a day or two, you need to start counting from 1 again, because that 1 or 2 days is enough to break it up where you've lost that habit and you haven't instilled it where it's going to be automatic. And the power of these is very, very crucial, because if you wear shoes that tie, you can get up in the morning, go get ready for work. You tie your shoes and you never think about it. You don't think about driving anymore. You just get in the car, turn the flipping thing on, shift it into reverse or drive, and away you go. It's become subconscious. This is what you want these things to do. I still like in the donuts, so I'm out of the habit of eating sugar. But when there's donuts, am I tempted? Without a doubt. But at this point, I've gone through the withdrawal process, and so I don't crave it like I did before. So it's easier to have the discipline not to do it. By the way, I'll touch on this too. It's really easier not to do it than trying to have the willpower, right? So I don't have cookies and ice cream in my house. I don't have anything that's got sugar in my house. So I'm not tempted, because I can't, when I get hungry and I go looking for something, there's nothing bad to eat. If you do one of these a month, in the next year, you'll have 10 to 12 extra new habits that are going to increase your energy. And you'll be, like I said, you'll be able to leap tall buildings with a single bound. This is a picture of me the summer after I had quadruple open heart surgery, water skiing. Just last week, I went for my physical, my annual physical. Now, I want you to understand that I am on no medications. I take nothing. I take no cholesterol medication, no high blood pressure medication. I take nothing. I also want you to know that when I went in for my physical, my blood pressure was 120/80. My heart rate was 60. My oxygen, I don't know if it ratio is the right word, but the oxygen content in my body, they want you 100% is ideal. I was at 98. I can tell you I got a clean bill of health. My point to all this is that this stuff works. It'll get you off medications. Don't do that without a doctor. But I can tell you, you have the ability, our body has the ability to heal itself when we give it all the things it needs. Our brain has the ability to heal itself. Our emotions, our spirit, they all have the ability to heal themselves. We are just responsible for putting in good energy. When you have strong, positive, and consistent energy, it's not a question of if you'll achieve your goals. It's simply a matter of when. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you, Louie. That was amazing. And I have been given the task of wrapping up and identifying some highlights and My mind is spinning in such a good way. I don't know which highlights to pick. I'm excited actually because I've started a couple of these habits. I haven't had a Pepsi since before New Year's Eve. I haven't had any alcohol since before New Year's Eve, and I have noticed a difference. So I don't need to believe you. I believe the results. So I would encourage everyone to try and pick one and keep at it. And I know I've been tempted for both a Pepsi and a glass of wine, and I'm trying really hard to maintain the discipline. So thank you so much, Louie. And I think at this time we're going to open it up to questions, comments, accolades, whatever you'd like to share.
I will, while people are thinking about questions, I'll comment that I did the same thing, Lori. I went, I kicked, because alcohol's got a lot of sugar in it too, right? But I kicked alcohol first, and then I kicked sugar. And then what I did was I gave myself 4 days in the year. So my birthday, my wife's birthday, our anniversary and Christmas, I let myself eat sugar and drink. And so 2 years ago, we went out for a really nice dinner on our anniversary. And this was back when we could still go out. Excuse me. And I think we went to Ruth Chris, nice steak place. And I love gin martinis. And so I ordered a gin martini. And when you don't drink, it doesn't take long to get a buzz on. And so I drank half a martini, and I threw the keys at my wife and said, "You're going to have to drive home. I'm drunk." And I thought, well, that makes me a cheap date, right? But what was even more astounding, and John, this is something for the brain stuff. When I got up the next morning, I could feel, it felt like my brain was in a fog. And when we drink regularly, we don't realize that our brain's going into that foggy state because it's just the norm, right? When I gave up, now I'm not proud of this. And part of this is if I can do it, anybody can. Breakfast for me used to be 2 to 3 cans of Mountain Dew washing down sugar donuts. And I can tell you, yeah. And I can tell you when I gave up Mountain Dew, which is loaded with both caffeine and sugar, I physically had sweats. I had the shakes. I had headaches. It was withdrawal. It's like if I was coming off any other drug. That's but our body gets so used to it that we don't even know that we're polluting I remember the first time I had a beer, I spit it out because it tasted like crap. And our body knows we just put poison in, but no, I'm going to be a macho guy and hang out with my buddy and drink beers. And so you learn to adapt to it. Same with cigarettes, right? Nobody's ever had that first cigarette thought, that tasted great. I'm sure this is doing wonders for my health. I'm going to keep doing this. No, you just overcome the flippant horribleness of it until your body becomes numb.
I echo that, on the whole diet thing at different times, there's that called the Whole30 where you cut all that stuff out. I've been on keto, and it's amazing how once you cut it out and then you add it again, you notice it almost right away, almost immediately. So, yes.
Well, and it's funny. So just this past Christmas season, I love eggnog. And my diet's really, really clean. But Dorothy brought home a half gallon of eggnog, and so I poured myself a little glass, and I drank a little glass of eggnog. I thought I was going to throw up because it's so rich. It's got sugar and everything. So I told her I'm done drinking eggnog. As much as I love eggnog, but I physically felt ill. I was sharing with somebody yesterday. If you just stand me outside of a McDonald's, I'll have to be inside. Just stand outside. And I can smell the smell of that stuff. It turns my stomach. My stomach starts to get queasy.
It's interesting. You don't have to go back to the caveman for the toilet paper. If you, someone once put up this exhibit and it showed all these high school classes and college classes and business from like the 30s. Nobody was overweight. Nobody, because all they could eat was healthy food, right? We didn't have all the preservatives. We didn't have all that crap that makes up such a diet, our diets.
And well, yeah, that's very true, John. And I remember, so my dad was from Kentucky, and I remember we used to go down there in the summer, and I used to work on the farm for my aunt and uncle, and they'd get up in the morning, and the women would cook a big meal. Like, so we would hunt squirrels, and so we ate squirrel, and they had chickens, and they had cattle and stuff like that. But they had their own garden, and so they'd get up in the morning and they'd cook, and then we'd come in from the fields at lunch. And all we ate was what they had, right? It was all stuff that came right off the farm. It wasn't processed any. And this is what I tell people, because people will put up, well, Louie, what about milk? Milk doesn't come out of a cow homogenized and pasteurized, right? Milk's just as toxic as everything. And I've had milk straight from a cow, and it doesn't taste anything like the milk you get in the flipping grocery store. But to your point, John, everything we were eating in those days, and I can tell you, I worked like a banshee. We literally in those days it was sun up and sun down, and we would work all day long out in the fields doing whatever we had to do. But I never lacked for energy, and I slept like a baby every night. But all we were eating was the vegetables and fruits that came out of their garden, and then the meat that they'd either slaughtered from the hogs, the cattle, the chickens, or the squirrels that we got hunting.
I have a question for you, and I get the physical piece regarding the discipline, and if you were to have that donut, start over kind of thing. What about, and you spoke to it a little bit, the mindset piece, like for me, like I said, I haven't had a Pepsi, haven't had a glass of alcohol. I know I was really thinking that what happened last week in DC was going to really blow the dry January for me, but I persevered, and I didn't let that mess with my discipline. But I'm wondering if you could speak a little bit more to that the mental piece of, oh, if I have that sugar or some of the other habits out of any 4 area, when we beat ourselves up, how can we get back into the game that you talked about?
Yeah. So one of the things that I think that's very powerful, both for your mental and emotional energy, is forgiveness. And we don't forgive other people, but the person we beat up the hardest is ourselves. Right. And so there's the secret right there, is to realize that it's the journey, right? We're not going to change this thing overnight. We've all all of us here have decades of habits, right? I didn't quit sugar in a day. I didn't quit alcohol in a day. And some of them, I share the story of. So I remember a long time ago, I had a bet with a buddy of mine that we were going to go 30 days without drinking. And I thought, this is going to be easy enough. But it was in the summer, and I was at a backyard barbecue at a friend's house on a deck, and I was into my second beer before I realized I'd had a beer, because it was just such a natural habit. Now, I could have beat myself up, but I just realized, okay, wow. And I had the aha moment, like, holy cow, this is the power of a habit, right? When you got that habit going the other way in your favor. But remember, it's about the journey to just start again, right? Most people think, oh, shoot, I had a glass of wine, I'm done. No, just go back to not drinking, right? Because it's the journey, and it's the same thing. If you were running, and we've all seen people do this, if your goal is to run a marathon, and at some point you cramp up and you walk for a little bit, that doesn't mean that you can't start running again, or it certainly doesn't mean that you quit, right? I think part of it's just that it's that piece of forgiveness and realizing that you're only human. And the other part of it is that you got to want, and I know all of you on this call, and I know the heart of each one of you. And I can tell you that when I think about it, I think, so like those high school kids, if I'm really having a bad day, now I can tell you that, and this is a conversation that could go on, it could be, but it's an illusion that whatever goes on in DC is going to make you drink, right? That's an illusion. And that's you looking for a crutch, flipping politicians. If they wouldn't have done that, I'd be okay. I'd have been able to stop drinking, right? But what you got to, and I know all of us do, think about the people that you're going to help. And when I think about them, Nicole and I are very like-minded and evenly yoked in our heart to help abused kids. And so when I think about those abused kids, I think, well, Louie, you got to show up with your best energy. All 4 of them, brother. You got to bring your best energy because they're going to be emotionally draining. They're going to be mentally draining. They're going to be physically draining. They're going to be spiritually draining. I got to show up with the best. And so when I think about it, I give myself grace because God's already forgiven me long before I ever get around to it. So I forgive myself and realize, okay, I'm just going to pick myself up and move on. But then I try and get that picture of who am I out here to help? And who am I here to serve? And they need my best energy.
It's about progression, not perfection.
I love that. I'm going to steal that.
I tell Tyler often that the journey is the destination.
Yeah.
Right? It's getting there. Once we're there, we look back at everything we've accomplished, and it's far more than we thought we would need it to get there. And
and that's the wisdom of the people in the room. And Paula, I'm going to tell you that's a great example for Lori that I would share and cross-pollinate this thing is. So let's say, what's the date today? The 18th, 19th, 20th, right? Today's the 20th.
Today's the 13th.
13th. You got a whole extra week.
Okay, cool. All right, I'm ahead of it. But so let's say you made it 10 days and then they do this wacky stuff in DC and you had a glass of wine. To Paula's point, are you going to focus on the one day you drank or the 10 days that you didn't? Right? And you had 10 days that you won, and that was a progression. So now now the next goal, I can do 11. And I love that. It's progression, not perfection. I love that, Paula. And I'm going to steal that because it's those. And there's a great book by Darren Hardy called The Compound Effect. And what I like to bring this back to, and then I'll end. Yeah, there you go. Nicole's holding it up. The compound effect talks about how, and I shared this on Engaging Speakers, right? Whatever your big goal is this year, your quantum leap goal, if you do 5 things for it every day, at some point you're going to accomplish it. If you had to cut down a redwood tree and you took 5 chops at it with an axe every day, at some point it's coming down. That's what this is all about, right? Little steps over a period of time, it creates that compound effect, and then it builds its own momentum and becomes like a snowball going down a hill. And all of this, all to say that so I can teach you how to go grow your business faster. I can help you with a target market. I can help you with a unique selling proposition. I can help you with how to present that or do better sales presentations. But until you're bringing your best energy consistently, that's going to have sporadic results because some days you're going to show up hungover and some days you're not. Some days you're going to show up really charged up and you got a great night's sleep. Some days you're not. And then you're going to think, well, flipping Louie's processes don't work for crap. Well, our processes are bulletproof. It's the chucklehead at the wheel.
And Louie, I'm so excited you're staying with those exercises. Let's connect. I'll give you some. They must be getting kind of easy for you. We'll give you some harder ways to do it.
All right. Yeah, I'm getting pretty quick on some, but and that's a great example, right? Some days I'm really fast, and then other days I'm thinking, shoot, right. It feels like I haven't been doing this at all. It's like a first.
That's right. That's right. Well, and then you want to do it again until you get them right. Then you'll be ready for whatever else is coming. Because if you're struggling with them, then you're going to be struggling a little bit with whatever's coming up on your list, whatever's next.
Yeah.
But let me give you some harder ones.
Okay.
Well, I think that we are just about at time to wrap up, unless anyone else, Paula, anybody has any more questions, comments that they would like to put out there right now?
Great tips, Louie. I think there are a lot of really wonderful things. I especially love the mirror. Work at incorporating that.
Awesome. And
yeah,
it's in the chat. I'm sorry, Louie. It's in the chat, and you'll get it too as part of the registration for the event.
I'll share just a really quick story. I was coaching a woman who lives in Whinstone. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that neighborhood or not, just north of Lake Zurich. It's a gated community, and the smallest house in there is probably $5 to $6 million. woman had it all. All right. From the outside, looking outside in, she had it all. Kids, money, success, status, fame. She wasn't happy. She wasn't happy in any way, shape, or form. And I remember I told her about the mirror exercise, and I told her I was going to help support her the first time. And we started walking to her bathroom, and halfway to her bathroom, she was a puddle. She couldn't stand up. She couldn't face herself in the mirror. And we all struggle with it.
I love that you guys always leave me on something like that to wrap up with. Thanks. Um, so I think, Paul, I think that you were at a couple other of the events and some other people. And I think that, what was so eye-opening, I know for me too, is just, again, kind of bringing it back to you. Like, you're not going to get anywhere, or you could get somewhere, but it's all really comes down to you. And I think that you guys laid it out beautifully with it being the foundation. It's about your brain, John. It's about the conversations. And then Louie, it's about bringing the best of all four of those components of you in order to increase your productivity, your profits. And what's our other P? And proficiency. Sorry. So I think that that's just amazing that it really all comes down to us, right? And I love that Louie brought it back to, do some of these things. Go ahead, try it. Once you do these things, I'm going to show you the other actions that you can do to really improve all of these three P's to the productivity, proficiency, and profits in your business. So you're given a little bit of us, a little exercise for us to do. And so did Lori and John, and I absolutely love that. So what's really, really exciting is I get to announce that the three of these wonderful people will be doing a, live hybrid event coming up here soon. We're going to have some more details to follow, but it will be an all-day event where you can come experience more than just what we have been, they have been teaching these last few weeks on these wonderful topics, and really showing you how to increase the foundation of anything, which is you. So you will, and we really, really, really look forward to, seeing everybody there.